Classic training, and that's the high, that's the shark mode. And to many of us, the shark is really the essence of Finnish sailing, and we're so glad that Petri Wilska is going to talk about the shark.
All right, thank you, Vesco. Thank you, HSS, for inviting me here to speak on behalf of the High or the Shark Sailor Federation. It's really an honor. The boat that you can see here, as the title says, is my boat or our boat. The guy trimming the front sail, Vesa Humalisto, is the other owner of it. I think, as Esko mentioned, the high boat is something that most of the sailors in Finland have either sailed or have connections to, so there are probably 10 times more high experience in this room than I have. But nevertheless, I bought my first high boat in 2007 from Hanko and sailed it to Espoo and started competing immediately with it. My purpose was to learn how to sail it, but as soon as I got it to Espoo and Johan Fors heard that there's a new boat in Helsinki, he told me that I have to participate in the Helsinki regatta, and he has the crew for me. So I learned it the best way, I guess, by going to a competition instead of sailing by myself for 2 to 3 years and thinking that maybe now I can start competing. This boat, Myrskylintu, we bought, Vesa and myself, and another third guy, Mika, 3 years ago from Kopu, Koivusaaren Pursiseura, and it's really a special boat, as everyone who owns a classic yacht thinks their boat is very special. The specialty for Myrskylintu is that it's been built by Jorma Seppälä in 1969 for himself, so it's really a masterpiece done for himself, so all the materials are very carefully chosen, and it has been kept in an excellent shape, so when we put it in the water, there's no water coming in, which is often not very usual for high boats or any other classic boats, as you know. So it's not a very old boat, it's younger than me actually, 5 years, but a terrific boat, and we love sailing it, and we love the high class. So going on, and before going on, I would like to mention that there are some leaflets there, and also at the Mahogany Yacht Society department in the fair here, there is a high boat presented in full rigging. It's a boat called Hermans, built in 1952, and it's the champion of the high class for 2012 and 2013. So if you want to see a really competitive boat, its rigging, you should go and look at Hermans and not our boat, because we are on our way learning how to be a great team. Okay, so moving forward this way. Yeah. Okay, so I'd like to talk a little bit about the history of the high, which many of you know much more about than myself, but the basic things and when was it designed and what was the reason for it and the ideology behind it, and then some of the measures and materials and special characteristics maybe to the high boat, and then a little bit about the class, its activity, and then at the end present the calendar of the high ranking and the 2014 nationals, which this year will be held in Helsinki for a long time, and HSS is hosting it, and it will be sailed hopefully, as I have heard, right behind the Skipperholmen, where the rocks have been blown out, and there should be room for a course for the high boat. And as you may know, there are other nationals at that same weekend and the Champagne Regatta. Okay, so HSS has a very significant part in the birth of the high boat. It was ordered by Erik Nummelin, the then Commodore of HSS, and some other people from the designer Gunnar L. Stenbäck, who was a boat and yacht designer, spent his early career, I think, in the US designing boats, and then came back to Finland and represented the Åbo Båtvarv, for instance, and is behind the design of many of the meter boats as well. For instance, I think Naja, the Finn #1, the 6-meter boat, is designed by Gunnar L. Stenbäck. It was designed in 1930 and presented in what's called Guardin Manege, or Guard's riding ring, I guess in English, in 1931 in a special fair, boat fair, and it was presented in the Frisk Breeze magazine, #9 of 1930. And you can see the Guardin Manege, the picture on the right. I wanted to put it there, of course, because that's where it was presented, and many of us know the place. It's in Kasarminkatu in downtown Helsinki, and that's where they had the boat fair. And interestingly enough, I found that the place is for sale at the moment. So I don't know, to have a place to keep your boats or build them, I think a boat builder should buy that place. Okay, the High was approved as a one-type class in 1932 by the Finnish Yachting Federation, and the High Sailors Federation, or Haipurjehtijat, was founded in 1963, and ever since the next season the nationals have been held every year with, I think, looking at the statistics, a few years there were a bit less than 20 boats, which is basically to have the title you have to have a minimum of 20 boats, but at some years there were, I don't know if there were boats that didn't make it or why, but most years the nationals have been held. And 1965 was the year of most of the boats, so not 64 but 65. There are 52 high boats on the line for the champions, which is something we of course would like to see even today. But before going forward, I had a question here that I wanted to ask. So is there, and if so, what is the connection between the Sharkboat and Microsoft? So that's just a quiz that you can think about. Yeah. Okay, so there has been almost 300 high boats built in Finland. The latest one in 2003 called Aquarel in Pietarsaari, Jakobstad, with a fairly modern way of building it. There have also been a lot more than 300 shark boats built elsewhere or around the world. For instance, there were 25 ordered by the Camden Yacht Club in Maine in the early 30s, and so I think 15 were ordered in 33 or so, and then a storm destroyed some of them, so another 10 was ordered later. And the shark boat has been, or was at some point of time, used as a training yacht by the French Navy, so they ordered, I think there were about 100 sharks built to take to France, and it's a fairly active class still. There are a lot of high boats, or cans as they are called there. They're not quite according to the specifications that we have. They can have an aluminum mast and a bigger sail area, and some changes to the original drawings. There has been some built in Estonia. I do not know how many, but some, and in 1939 there were 22 boats in Germany, and there still are some left, I know that for sure. And this is something I'm not completely 100% sure about, but what I have heard is that there was a plan to break through the high boat internationally in the Olympics in Helsinki in 1940, which then of course were postponed due to some other things to do, and when the Olympics were held here in '52, it was already too late for the high boat to break through. So maybe we would have seen a real international classic if the war would not have happened. So here's just about the Camden Yacht Club. It was so interesting that I took it here. It's in their history. Much of their history on their website is donated to telling about the shark boats. So it has played a significant role, amazingly enough, somewhere like in Maine. So just a piece of information, interesting, I think. So about the boat itself, it's a beautiful boat, as you have seen in the picture and can see here in the drawings. 9.6 meters and only 1.9 meters from the widest part. So it's very slim and nice, weighing the displacement being 1,700 kilograms, and as you can see from the bottom, the last time the national boats participating in the nationals were weighed was in Oulu in 2002, and they weighed between 1920 and 2140 kilograms, so a couple of 100 kilogram variance in the weights of the boats. And of course the draught of 1.1 meters only is something very special to the high boat, and if you look at the keel, you can see the design that it really is designed to be sailed on the rocky waters, and you can really sail and drive fast to a rock. I know that from several occasions, and it just goes up and then it starts to turn and fall, but when you loosen the mainsail, it kindly slides back, and then you can continue. That happened to us going to Hanko last year. We were racing a Recan, a French high boat, on the way. We suddenly, by mistake or just happened to see one, and they were immediately racing us, and because it has a little bit larger sail area, it was a really tough contest, but of course we won it at the end, and we were so happy about ourselves that we missed a few marks and hit the rock really hard, and I thought that we're gone. I started to look where to jump and so on, but it just came back, and when we lifted it up for the winter, there was no sign except some paint gone from the keel, so it was really interesting. Okay. So the materials, the idea behind the high boat or building it was to make a boat which is cheap to build and easy to build and can be built kind of in a factory type production. So some of the ideas were I think taken from Henry Ford, how he built the cars. Of course there weren't nearly as many built, but the materials are quite easily available, and everything, because it's a one-type class, has to be according to the original drawings, except maybe winches, which can be used today. So it was and it is a fairly cheap boat to build and to maintain as well. So some of the characteristics I maybe have mentioned already. So very few changes to original specifications. I think the sail area has been enlarged a little bit at some point of time, and also the usage of winches is possible. Hermann's, the champion boat they have winches, which is very rare at high boats, but they also sail H boats, so maybe they're used to trimming the front sail with the winches. All the lines, as you can see a little bit from the picture, come into the cockpits through cleats or cam cleats, so it's really easy to operate even by yourself. It's very easy to sail just by one man or woman. The sail area is quite small in relation to the broad, so there is a saying that when other boats come in, the sharks go out, so you can really sail it in fairly heavy winds. And I think it was in last year's symposium when Mr. Herreshoff was here that he said that one design boats are okay, they just have one downside, which is that the boats are all the same, so usually the best sailor wins, which is kind of interesting. Yeah. So it really is an active class and a great group of people participating in the high rankings. More than 20 boats in the national championships, last year in Tampere, before that in Oulu, and this year in Helsinki. And the ranking series has between 30 to 40 teams or boats competing. There are nine competitions or regattas for the ranking series. The nationals is one of them. And what is quite characteristic about the top high sailors is that they usually sail, or at least have sailed. Many of them still sail other multiple classes, like of the H boat and Melke's folk boat, Star 2.4s and so on, and also offshore racing and sailing. It's a team of 3 in the competition, and yes, it's really rewarding to try to learn how to compete with a high boat, because there are so many supportive people around sailing in high boats, and also so many people who have an opinion and know a lot about high boats, even if they don't compete. So there's Hermans, the 2-time championship on the right-hand side, taken from here when they brought it here. And there's Myrskylintu in, you might not guess, but in the HSS Classic, so that's Merihaka and the Kallio Church behind. Many people have asked if we have been sailing in London or New York or China or somewhere. No, that's here. Okay, then just to promote the calendar a little bit, so there are nine regattas or races where we can participate in the high ranking, and then there's the team nationals in Naantali, which is not a ranking contest, but hosted by Naantali. They give the boats, and you just bring your team and you compete against each other with the boats of the hosting club. And the nationals here, August 8th to 10th, same time with the nationals of the 6-meter boats, I believe, and the Champagne regatta. So really full beginning of August for the HSS teams, I believe. Okay, so I think I pretty much said everything that I wanted. Thank you for listening, and then for the quiz, I don't know how many of you guessed the Microsoft High connection, but there's a very popular boot called High Boot, which was designed by Nokia when they still made rubber boots in '68 by an architect, Esko Lehesmaa, and he was a high sailor, so he named it High, and of course the Microsoft connection comes from Microsoft buying Nokia, so there's probably still people that work in the boot factory working for Microsoft. Thank you.